All right, my friends, welcome to episode 280 of Prof and Dev Play Games. My name is Larry, the professor at Prof Plays Games on Twitter. Over there is Anthony, the dev at Summer Speak. And before we get into the how we're doing, if you like our podcast, please rate us on your podcast service of choice. It really helps getting our podcast name out there. It's really been driving up listens, because it's not views, listens, I guess, downloads. And we really appreciate the new people listening to the podcast. And please tell more people. We just like talking about video games. And this week we're going to talk about video game patents. But before we get there, Anthony, how are you?
I'm doing okay. Got a bunch of snow because Seattle got hit by a giant snowstorm.
Nice.
So already was staying inside anyway. Now we have a foot of snow keeping us inside. Seems fine. Cool. We had stocked up on groceries and everything earlier in the week because we know this was going to happen. So we're like, all right, got a bunch of firewood so we can keep the house. The thought was we could lose power.
Right.
It's has happened before during snow. So we were just like, make sure we have firewood and make sure we have food for the next at least a week. But no, power's been fine. Internet's been fine. So it's really just been exactly the same. Just when I look outside, it's white now, not normal overcast gray. So
at what point in a storm where you lose your power and you've run out of firewood, do you bust out an axe and take down one of the trees on your property?
I don't know, because even though knowing more about firewood than I should, being like, I'd have to be pretty goddamn desperate to do that, because that's just going to be super green wood.
Yeah.
That's going to burn like shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to smoke up your whole house.
Smoke up the house. Like,
done that before.
But then it's just not going to burn that hot.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, I'd have to be pretty damn desperate to do that. But
that's why you cut it down now and let it dry in your house.
There you go. Yep. Just stick it all in the garage. No need for the cars in there. We're not going anywhere. We're screwed.
Podcast is over. Anthony's headed out with his axe.
Yep. No. It has actually made me start thinking about potentially inevitable home improvement will be solar panels and stuff for the house.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so that we could be actually more off the grid if necessary. Our neighbors have solar, and they've talked about how, like, in the winter, they have a bunch of batteries, of course, hooked up to it, like a big system. In the summer, they actually sell power to the power company.
Yep.
And then in the winter, they occasionally pull from the grid, but a lot of times it's just their batteries, and plus the solar are fine. So I've thought about, I'm like, should invest in that at some point. Probably be really good for the house. But
yeah, we have a condo, and the California law is such that they can't stop us from putting solar panels on our roofs. But the expense of it versus how long we plan on staying here, we're just kind of in a bit of a limbo situation. So I would love to. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
And if I owned the house for sure, it would just be, I wouldn't even wait.
Yeah. But that's one of the many things I want to do to the house, and eventually we'll get there.
Yeah. That does help with the resale value too, but I don't think that you're in that market for a long time.
Nope. Unless someone really gives me like this amazing place you want to move.
Steve Ballmer's like, I want that house. Here's $10 million.
Yeah, pretty much. It'd have to be a lot of money, or I need a really good incentive to go someplace else. Because if I'm going to stay around the Seattle area, I'm not moving. It'd have to be away from the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
And right now, I can't imagine that happening. So, mostly because I hate moving. I never want to do it again.
Did you hire movers last time?
No, you helped last time.
Oh, God, you're fucking right. I did. I forgot. That was the last time you moved. Yeah, that's right.
Yep. Almost 10 years at this point. 9 years.
Guy,
yeah.
We moved from apartment to the first house we bought, and we were like, nope, next time movers. So we hired movers the second time. It's like, this is fucking incredible. Like, that is like worth it.
Yeah. I mean, we'd have to. We have so much stuff right now. And I don't want to box it all up again. And honestly, actually, that's not the horrible part. It's just all the furniture. God. Ugh, I don't want to think about it. So, video games. Not moving, video games.
Video game patents. There was some news this week about, God, what are they called? Monolith stuff, I think?
Yeah, I mean, it's Warner Brothers games.
Brothers,
Monolith is the sub-company under there. They got purchased years ago by Warner Brothers.
Right.
But they made Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War.
And they have a neat system in there that no one has really copied.
Yeah, and I'm going to read directly from the patent. Nemesis characters, Nemesis forts, social vendettas, and followers in computer games.
That seems broad.
You kind of, but also very specific.
Followers, though? Maybe some of the other things, but followers?
Yeah, so this is the thing. This got picked up with a bunch of like news being like, "Oh my god, I can't believe Warner Brothers is patenting this. How like what does this do to the video game industry?" And then people are patenting games. Well, this has been going on for decades. One, this isn't new. I don't know why this one bubbled up, really. And I guess the line of that whole thing does seem very vague. But then you look at the patent, it's like, no, this is very specific. Like most patents need to be. They can't be broad, vague things. They have to be very, very focused and specific.
Mm-hmm.
And usually has a hardware piece involved as well. Like it's not just abstract. It's like, oh no, we have. I'm trying to look at this thing where it talks about it here. They have different diagrams in the patent. I have it up, and there's stuff where it's like talking about like communication with servers over Wi-Fi or LAN, different code backends that are managing these Nemesis actors and NPCs and how they interact with one each other. Like, and it's not like that's broad. It's very specific on like, no, this system interacts with this system in this very specific way.
And that's what they're copywriting then, or patenting. Excuse me.
That's what they're patenting. Yeah. Like, so there's a thing where people are like, oh, they're just. I guess theoretically, Warner Brothers games could wield this like a hammer against other companies, but historically, as far as I was doing research, you don't really find that happening all too much from companies that have patented different game mechanics. Like, let's see. I was doing research, and so Microsoft back in 2004, it took them 11 years to get this patent. Till 2015 is when they got it. Multiplayer game mode with Predator feature.
You mean like a asymmetrical?
Yeah.
Wait, Microsoft? Wait.
They have a patent on this. They have a patent on this.
But like Predator Hunting Grounds does this.
I mean, this patent was issued long before that, back in 2004.
Right, that's what I'm wondering. So how would that company be able to do that? Or unless it's...
Because it's specific way, specific technology.
Yeah.
That's why these things aren't. Patents are hard to wield like a hammer, especially in tech. Because this is like even one of the diagrams in here is an original Xbox. So it's like multiplayer game mode with Predator feature on an Xbox. And they actually go into like the CPU of being like, oh, this is how the CPU is laid out and where the memory is on it, and this is how we're using the different memory and buses and bandwidth to do this feature. So
if you don't do it in that specific way,
you probably don't fall under this patent. Like, because it's not abstract. That's the thing about patents. They can't be just abstract theories. Like, they have to be a very solid, specific idea. Or concept.
Well, and this is different than the look and feel thing that we talked about before, right? Like you can't really copyright, and the copyright's different than patent, but you can't copyright the look and feel of a game, right?
Nope, you cannot. And it kind of falls to this too. Like this is, you can't patent look and feel at all.
Right.
Going back to Warner Brothers things, it has nothing to do with look and feel. It's methods for managing non-player characters and power centers in a computer game are based on character hierarchies and individualized correspondences between each character's traits or rank and events that involve other non-player characters or objects. And then it goes into specifically, players may share power centers, character hierarchies, non-player characters, and related quests involving shared objects, with players playing in separate and unrelated game instances over a computer network. With the outcome of these quests reflected in different games. Various configurations of game machines are used to implement these methods. So the Nemesis one, yes, there's some like here's all these systems working in place, but a key part of the patent is how the server infrastructure works to send Nemesis to other people's games, and how those can have interactions in not just your game, the other person's game, as they cross whatever back end piece that they're doing. So if someone puts out a Nemesis system that does not use a backend like that, it probably doesn't cross this patent at all.
So the idea of wielding it like a hammer is if it gets close, then they just sue to scare people off. Is that what they're
Pretty
worried
much, yeah. And historically, that doesn't happen too much, unless with, I would say, the big companies. There are people that do this for patent trolls, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
But none of these big companies have much history of seeing it. I've seen other companies, patent trolls, sue the big companies. Like, they preemptively get patents they expect that those big companies are going to want. Microsoft has had it happen a couple times with like multiplayer. Like, they settled out of court with one of these companies who was suing them over their multiplayer backend for, I think, a Halo back in the day.
Right.
Nintendo's been sued. Joy-Con, there's like patents on some stuff there. Yeah. Like, they got sued. And I don't know if that's really a patent troll. I haven't dug in more, but that happens, and I see it more often wielded that direction. Because the big companies are just like, fine, we'll just pay you off. We don't need to deal with this. It's cheaper to pay you off than pay our court fees and lawyers. So, I mean, there'd be also a thing here with like Monolith's thing of being like, you probably shouldn't call the stuff a Nemesis system or Nemesis characters. Probably the wrong choice of words if someone's working on things. Because I bet that would wake the beast to come at you.
It's almost like a Google alert, right? Like, oh, someone's using Nemesis, so let's get after them.
And I bet Nemesis is probably trademarked, I'll be honest. I bet the whole...
In this specific context?
Yeah, I bet they've trademarked it for their Nemesis system. I'd have to check into that, but it wouldn't surprise me after its success in Shadow of Mordor that they were like, hey, let's copyright and patent and trademark. Very important things here.
My understanding, or I don't know if it's understanding, but like my read on some of the quote unquote backlash has just been based on how fucking cool the Nemesis system was for Shadow of Mordor and how people were constantly clamoring for, begging for that system to be used by other companies in other games. And it just wasn't until Shadow of War. It's just the same game, new one. And it just wasn't that like unrealized or unfulfilled promise of like how cool that would be in like a Batman game, which they could do, this Warner Brothers, but other games. So then when this comes out, it's like, oh, no one else can do it. But then when you dig in, perhaps they could, just in a different way.
Yeah, anyone could probably still do it. Again, it just depends. You cannot do it the exact same way that Monolith did. What other game has a Nemesis system or something similar? Thing I'm talking about, Diablo 3 on consoles. Not in the same way, but you do have a way of. There are certain, definitely on the PS4 when it came out, you could. There were certain mobs that spawned. I don't remember. I don't think they called them Nemesis mobs, but they were a challenging monster. You defeated them, and when you defeated them, they would go to a friend's game, and your friend could see it, and they would have a little tag saying it was defeated by you. It's a similar system, honestly. Not as deep as the Shadows games are, but
yeah, because I think of the Nemesis system as you kill that person, and then, or more like they kill you. Yeah. And then they rise up the ranks and they just make fun of you every time you come back. Like they remember those details, or if you kill one of them, you might have killed someone's friend and they're pissed off at you. It's more, for me, it's the interaction. It's like you as a player. I know that there's, interactions with other players' games, but I mean, that's what always struck me is how the game remembered that.
Yeah. I don't think this patent is holding people off from doing that in other games.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just think doing that system like that, it takes a ton of work, and most other companies haven't wanted to put the time into it. Like, I think Monolith got something right when they made the system and did a really good job with it.
Yeah.
But it's not an easy system to copy, probably okay. Execute on it is probably very hard.
I mean, there might be diminishing returns
in
the amount of time you invest in it. And I think we can just look at Shadow of War to see that, where Shadow of Mordor like really fucking hit and Shadow of War did not in the same way, nearly even the same way. I know part of it was the microtransactions and such, but I feel like Mordor hit at like that cross-generational time where like this fresh thing was happening that maybe seemed like it could only happen on next gen, when maybe that wasn't exactly the case. I think the 360 versions did the same thing, or to a lesser extent. It just felt like lightning in a bottle. And then when they themselves did it again, it was not as flashy.
Yeah. And that's very possible. I mean, other companies are looking at it being like, one, how hard is this to put into the game that we might already have had in development for a few years? Is it worth it? Probably not. And then spinning up new things, being like, is this, can we do this in a way that is different or better than what came before? I'm sure they'll ask that. And then always the cost benefit analysis of, oh, if we put all this resources into it, the time it takes to make this actually really cool for the player, what else could we have been doing instead?
Right.
Like, is this really the selling point of our game, or is this an addition to our game where the selling points are actually these things over here that have nothing to do with this system?
And as a developer, when you're working on a game, even like the game you're working on now is an ongoing game, or even like a new fresh game that you've been, running through iterations, or even just the design phase or whatever. When you see something like this pop up, is there a desire to not engage with that because it just feels bolted on or like catching a trend, and you'd rather like have your organic ideas? Or is there some room to kind of grab other things?
I think there's always room to look around at things that are there. But the important part for me is if I see a cool idea in a game that I'm like, oh, that could work. I'll just say hypothetically in Astroneer because that's what I'm working on. It's still never a like, well, just take that one for one into your game. Because your game is still that you're working on is still a different game than the other one. You have typically probably a different control scheme, different interaction model, different aesthetic, a different priority on like what you emphasize and not emphasize in the game, a completely different UI UX to think about. So it's great to play and look at all these other things for interesting ideas, but also know that like, well, how do you make that idea work in the game you're working on in a way that's true to that game? And so there's a lot of things that I'll say I've played and been like, oh, that's a cool concept or cool feature. Oh, could that work in Astroneer? I'm like, well, maybe, but then this would have to change or that would have to change. No, never mind. It's not worth the time or the effort. Like, there are better ways we could be spending our time on Astroneer than trying to figure out how to make this other thing work in the game just because it's a new exciting thing.
Shit, I guess we're making news here. Astroneer is not going to have the Nemesis system.
Oh, yeah.
Here first, folks.
Yeah, it'd be hard. There's absolutely no antagonists in Astroneer, so
that would make it very hard.
Very hard. The fun thing when I was looking through patents, I read one that I found. This was filed in 2007 and got approved, activation granted in 2014. So it still takes like 5 to 7 years to get patents through. Like, it's kind of crazy. But it is electronic game, such as a computer game involving removing pegs.
Is that the patent for Peggle?
Yep.
So if it weren't pegs.
Yeah, I mean, you go through this patent. Like, I actually remember this whenever this was, and anyone's going to be like, oh, this is EA. No, this was years before EA ever was involved with PopCap. Like, this was all PopCap patenting Peggle. And abstract. Peggle is a game that balances skill and luck. The Peggle board is made up of different types of pegs, some of which the player must clear. The player begins a turn by aiming at the pegs. When the player releases the ball travels through the pegs, contacting some and eventually falling to the bottom of the board. The ball may bounce off many pegs, and those pegs that the ball contacts are removed. A score is calculated based on the number and types of pegs hit during a turn. That's the abstract of the patent. It is Peggle. Exactly Peggle. People could make another peg game where pegs are removed. It just couldn't be Peggle because you go through the patent and it has specifics on the scoring.
Right. So it's basically you're covering your ass so that if you didn't do that, someone could just literally copy Peggle.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then like one of the figures is like, hey, the system's involved. We have a display generation. We have physics. There are game rules. There are scoring rules. There's input, communication, and storage.
And no game can play that wonderful song when a ball gets close to the final peg.
Yeah.
Was it Wait Until Overture? Is that what it was?
It was until 1812.
Oh, okay.
I believe. It's been so long. But I mean, we at the time patented this game. It's a long patent too. Like,
Right.
it's you. It's like a very detailed description of the entire game of Peggle. So no one can make another Peggle exactly Peggle. Like,
That's why we
but
got round guard, which is not like Peggle,
no, but I
but
mean, it's
looks
still
like
shooting
Peggle.
balls at pegs.
Mm-hmm.
But that's okay. Like, that that is not an exact copy of Peggle, and it's not. I think that goes to show that, like, hey, patents have to be very specific, and so it's probably pretty easy to avoid another company's patent if you look at it and be like, oh, okay, just don't do this. Don't score things exactly like Peggle scores things.
Right.
Done.
Don't use pegs. I mean, it's odd to call those pegs
Yeah.
because they're just circles.
Yeah.
So then don't you get yourself into a hole where like, okay, well, I didn't make pegs, that they're stars.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I think
Yeah.
to get the patent actually approved, it has to be specific like that.
Oh, and specific to what you
Yeah.
have made. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super weird, like, digging into these and being like, huh, like the Predator feature. Electronic Arts has a bunch, like one systems and methods for indicating events in video games, and you're like, oh, that's vague. But no, it's like very specific about like a back end that can spit like, hey, a video game does a thing. Here's the back end for how we're sending those like uh events and notifications to not just you on the screen, but like to maybe to a mobile phone or laptops or other things. Yeah, this was actually pretty fun for me to look through and kind of just jog my memory of this. Like, Microsoft, I know, has a bunch of patents around multiplayer matchmaking from when like original Halo was made,
Yeah.
and they still hold those, but it hasn't stopped people from doing matchmaking, right?
Right. Yeah. No. Otherwise, Sony couldn't be doing that. You know.
Yeah. So that's where I just come down being like, I don't know why specifically the Warner Brothers thing became so big in the news, because this is happening all the time.
Is it happening all the time recently?
Yeah.
Or okay.
Constantly. Like, this happens, like, some of these, like, here's an Electronic Art ones for adaptive learning system for video game enhancement, which is basically a system of adaptive AI to make a video game better. And that was published, approved in 2017. Like, none of these are. Some of them are old, some of them are new. 2017. I saw some that were like 2019, 2020. Like, it happens all the time because and this usually is just big companies, because they put all this money into this product. They typically then will go through and do all the trademark, copyrights, and patents on things that matter. They have a legal team that just does this. So it's not an uncommon thing to happen. It's just, I don't know, did Warner Brothers put out like a press release on their patent getting approved?
I mean, it got picked up by the news sites. And that's where people have picked it up. But
yeah, I'm like, did someone actually?
We're all at home. People are home doing nothing.
Guess so.
They're just, I feel like some of these, like, I don't know, 20% of these discussions, like, fucking, extrapolate to other things, like the GameStop thing or whatever. Like, that would not have been as much if we weren't all at home with nothing else to fucking do. So I feel like people jump on this discussion, and the fervor around it is partially due to, I mean, for the, lack of other term, boredom.
Yeah, I guess so. Someone was just paying attention to this and saw that it finally got approved. Which I saw other people complaining about. Like, they're going like, oh, they originally applied in 2015 and it just now got approved. But then I look back on the ones that are like, when I just said, like, the Predator feature, the Microsoft multiplayer Predator thing, they applied in 2004 and it didn't get approved until 2009.
Right.
Peggle got applied in 2007 and didn't get granted. It's approved until 2014. It looks like it usually takes 5 to 7 years for a patent to get approved.
I wonder if that's because of a backlog or because it takes that long to like kind of dig in and figure it out. If it's patentable and going back and forth with the editing, revising or whatever.
I'm trying to see the timeline of events. So it's like 2007 was like, hey, we're going to do this. But it wasn't until 2013 that the application was filed, which is weird. But all these have these long... I don't know how that works.
Which game are you talking about?
Peggle.
Okay.
Because it was like this weird priority... I don't know. All these different timelines. I'm using Google's patent search. Patents.google.com. actually pretty fun to use.
Huh.
But a lot of these are, yeah, they're just filed and they just take a long time to actually get granted. So yeah, it could be a backlog. It could just be there could just be a term where they're like, hey, this patent is filed. We need to see if anyone's going to challenge it. Like maybe like that's part of the process. I don't know the actual process for filing a patent. I do know at PopCap at one point I did have to print out a bunch of source code. I don't know I think that was for copyright. Like I literally had to print out hundreds of pages of game source code.
That's interesting because isn't that something that somebody could use to just recreate it if your patent didn't get approved?
Potentially. I don't know. Because it wasn't like the whole game. It was like,
oh, I see.
It had to be a very specific chunk of the source code, like the main game thread, whatever that, or whatever class had that, and those could be pretty big. So, I don't know, it was a very weird thing. Just, I remember that assignment got handed to me as like the new person on the studio, because lawyers were asking for it.
Right.
So, that was fun times. So yeah, I'm not really sure why it takes so long, but clearly it's not just a like, hey, we want to do a patent. It's going to be a year. I was checking. System Era doesn't have any patents. Good to know. We got a patent Astroneer, I guess. Got to be something in there.
You would think. I don't know. Like I assume it's like expensive and a hassle and
it is
whatever else. But losing your shit is also a hassle if someone else just steals it. And
yeah, I think
like,
they're also like
someone. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sure they're like whatever. If you really feel like trying to steal this and make an exact copy of Astroneer, go ahead. Like, good luck.
But didn't King do that with Candy Crush, and that ended up working out pretty well for them?
Bejeweled's easy to copy. A match 3 is.
Yeah, okay.
But you also have to understand that why hasn't there been so many Peggle clones? It's not because of the patent. The patent didn't happen. Like, normally in the like casual games market, especially that end of the aughts, basically, was you could pretty much guarantee after you put out a casual game, 6 months later, there would be a clone of it.
Right.
Peggle never saw a clone for like 4 or 5 years. Bookworm Adventures didn't see a clone for a number of years. It just came to a point like those games are hard to copy. Plants vs. Zombies didn't. There's been a few now, but there was something where we always used to say that's like, sure, you might be able to copy the mechanics, but you're not going to be able to copy that look and feel without an incredible amount of time. And Peggle is one of those games where it's like, sure, you could make a game where a ball falls physically from down and bounced on things. They didn't see how much time and effort we put into the feel on how that ball falls. It's not real physics. There's all sorts of back-end stuff going on there to make the falling and the bouncing more dramatic and fun. And you can't copy that. There's no way. The only way you can do that is just to sit there and tune values over and over and over again until it feels right.
Well, and what are you going to do with that? Like, undercut Peggle by $5? And like, would you make any money off that? And would people say, I'd rather pay $5 for the real thing? I just don't know. Again, the return on investment in terms of hours and time just doesn't seem to work out.
And the thing is, match 3s, like Bejeweled match 3s style things, there's a lot of those and a lot of clones of those.
Honey
and
Pop.
So yeah. Oh, geez.
Put a wrapper on it.
Why'd you bring that up?
Just because it's on the top of Humble Bundle, which I'm looking for a code to give away.
It was also promoted to me in Steam every goddamn time that I log into Steam. It's like, you want Honey Pop too? I'm like, no, I really don't. Thanks. Like,
speaking of games and Humble, here's a game. It's a surprise, so enjoy. IYLGH9KRN5WCF6C. So if you made it this far, please enjoy that game. And yeah, Honey Pop 2. That keeps popping up.
But it is one of the top selling games on Steam.
Yeah?
I went in there, like, top sellers. It is seventh best selling game on Steam.
So it must be, I read Playboy for the articles, but like people have said like it's such a great match 3. I'm like, is it? Is that why you're playing it?
Okay. You're like, really? Really? I mean,
I'm not gonna kink shame here, but I'm just
if you want the best match 3, I would tell you just go buy Bejeweled 3 if you can. Because I will go to my grave saying Bejeweled 3. It's $1 for probably the pinnacle of the match 3 genre.
Did you do any work on that game?
Nope.
Okay.
It's really good, though, for match 3. There is so much just content packed into it. Game modes, puzzle stuff, graphic, like it's beautiful graphically still. Just tons of effects, very PopCap. So, but if you like your match 3s with the anime, the strip thing going on, well, I guess Honey Pop is the thing for you.
Yep. There's Bejeweled 3. What is it? Is it? It's a buck. All right.
It's a buck.
It says it's very similar to The Witness. So
Okay.
there's that, I guess.
I'm sorry. That's hilarious.
I don't find them to be the same at all.
No. Wow. Okay. It is recommended by Rock Paper Shotgun.
It's good.
Yeah. They always liked our
looking it
stuff. So it is Rock Paper Shotgun's 25th best puzzle game ever.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I did not do a damn thing on that game beyond just sit there while it was being made and play it. But yes, I guess this is a good time to move away from the thrilling conversation of patents to what we've been playing.
If you're still with us, we'll move on to what we're playing for sure. I will start. I have been playing Origami King as always. This new playthrough, as I looked at my playtime, and it's pushed Origami King to number 5 on my playlist on Switch. Divinity is first, and then Just Dance is third. So I can tell what kind of games I play on the Switch with my daughter. But Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury came in this week. And I've been looking forward to that coming in because obviously I want to try Bowser's Fury with my daughter because she likes Bowser Jr. a lot, and that would be a lot of fun. But we actually haven't even turned it on. We've been playing Super Mario 3D World as 3 of us, my wife and my daughter and I. And my wife has finally gotten a taste for what it's like to play video games with my daughter. She has been super excited for this game because she wants to play as Toad because Toad's the fastest. So she plays as Toad, I play as Luigi, and my wife plays as Princess Peach. And I was just watching my wife because I knew what was going to happen. We start the first level, and my daughter knows how to dash and run, and she just fucking goes. She's just like breaknecking through the level, not stopping for anything, just running straight through. And my wife is like trying to accomplish goals along the way, like pick up power-ups or explore areas, and she's just like, "What the fuck is happening?" So because my daughter's running so fast, we just keep getting bubbled and keep floating back to her. And my wife's like, "What is happening? I thought we were playing a game." It's like, you need to let go of all of your goals and just keep up with our daughter. That's all you need to do. And it was a ton of fun. That game is so good, but it is pretty complex in terms mechanically, which is cool. And this version, they sped up from the Wii U version, and it's noticeable to me. Just movement speed is faster. So been playing that. Doing the normal Rocket League stuff, which has been a ton of fun. But then last night started a co-op with Travis and Brad of Borderlands 3, which was I've only played a little bit of Borderlands 1, and the humor is kind of Borderlands humor. I really enjoyed what was it called? The Telltale Borderlands game. I thought that was just hilarious. And one of the characters from there, Chris Hardwick's character, is in this game. So there's some nice continuation there, but it was just, it's a Diablo kind of, it's a looter shooter kind of thing. And it was fun. I don't know, enjoyed it. It looks, I like the cartoony graphics, but just the treadmill of the weapon treadmill is pretty cool. Kind of jump in and have some fun and jump out. Nothing too serious. And that's all that I've played this week. So that's why I went first. There's been a lot of working this week.
I can imagine. When did you play Borderlands?
Last night. Oh, last night. The original one?
No, Borderlands 3. Was
last
that?
Night, yep.
I noticed after I had stopped playing what I was playing that Brad had invited me to a Discord channel.
Oh, interesting.
Were you guys playing?
Sorry, go ahead.
Were you guys all playing, I guess?
Yeah, and we switched our Thursday Night Rocket Leagues to Discord because some of us have started just doing audio, and we were using Google Meet or whatever. And we're like, let's just use Discord so we can do audio if it's just people who want to do audio, or then one night if we all want to do video, we can just turn the video.
Okay. That makes so much more sense because I'm like, I got off last night and I'm like, what is this Discord notification? Because Brad had messaged me about the game I was playing, which I'm spending a lot of time playing Valheim.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mostly because originally I picked it up because I'm like, well, it is a survival crafting game. I am making a survival crafting game. I'm working actively working on one. So why is this one so huge? What's it doing different? That honestly, it's the best selling game on Steam right now, and it's been that way for the last like this entire past week, and it's in the top 10 most streamed games on Twitch. It is a Norse themed survival crafting game. You have arrived in Valheim, 10th world. You look into the sky and you can see the world tree in the sky. Graphically, we have hit the point where retro means PS1.
Holy shit! I'm looking at this and like the textures and everything look rough.
That is the thing. Like, and I'll say something to it of being like, it's higher poly, more poly count. The lighting is very modern lighting, modern shadows techniques and stuff. So it's very vibrant in that way. But the textures have no filtering on them, so they look like PS1 textures.
Yeah, they sure do.
And that's, I guess, we're just at that point where this is what's cool now. I figured at some point we'd hit that point where it's like we've gone through 8-bit retro, 16-bit retro. Guess we're at 32-bit retro now. Which is fine. Actually playing it, I really, once it's all in motion and everything's the lighting and shadows and particle effects and all the other just density of stuff is there, it's a pretty beautiful game. It can do some really cool, you get some really cool vistas and views in there. Storms are cool. Day-night cycle all looks great. So, picked that up, started playing it. I see it's early access. It has a ton of content for early access.
Oh, that's cool.
It's not really buggy at all. There's some quality of life stuff that's going to need to be improved, but I've never crashed. I haven't lost anything. It's just honestly ran pretty flawlessly. But it's a survival crafting game. You get in, it's like, all right, go punch some trees to get some wood. So you can start building your house, or building someplace with some shelter so you can actually like not, and this is the thing, you're not gonna die at night. Like, this is in some ways a pretty chill survival crafting game. There's no hunger meter or anything like that. So you're not gonna starve to death. You're not gonna have to manage water. Enemies do spawn. You need to fight them. They could kill you. But even death isn't the most horrible thing. It's like, okay, you died. You lose a little bit of your stats. So you have to build those back up. You can run to your grave and pick up the items that you had on you, get them all back.
Is it PvP at all?
It can be if you want. So people can set up servers. You can run a server, or you can get like a dedicated server, and you can have up to 10 people playing in the server. And you can the person who is the admin can turn PvP on or off. I think it defaults to off. Like, it's cooperative. You're working together. There are beyond that normal exploration, finding materials, getting and progressing through like tiers of construction and like what you can make. There's bosses in it, like actual guidance to like, hey, there are 5 bosses. You're gonna need to kill them. Work on it. Yeah. Figure it out. Get stronger, get better, build better stuff, get better weapons and armor. There's little mini dungeons you can go into and retrieve different resources, different biomes. There's sailing and ships you build. It just does some, and the thing is, when I'm playing, I'm like, okay, it's not doing anything remarkably new for the genre, other than being like not the most punishing out there, but then just taking ideas from other games and just executing on those really well. So I've really been enjoying it. Mostly I've been just enjoying just building things more than anything, exploring, and then like, oh, I really like it, I'm going to build a house here. And then just taking a bunch of time building structures. I don't know. And it's a lot of fun doing that. I beat the first boss. I'm working towards the second boss. Like, the first boss, they actually put a little thing right next to there's pillars right where you start, and it's like 1 pillar for each boss. And it's like, okay, you're going to have to go eventually find them, bring back after you defeat them, the trophy, and put it on this pillar, to mark that you've done it. But the first boss right next to its pillar is another little stone tablet in the ground that you click on, and it marks the boss on the map. No other boss since then has that specifically. Like, you have to go probably while you're exploring a certain biome, you will come across a tablet for that next boss that will then mark it on your map. But it's not going to be apparent right from the start. So I found one of those tablets, found where the second boss is. It's way the hell away from where I'm at now.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to build up my sailing infrastructure because I'm going to be sailing to get there. Which would probably work in a way of being like, fine, I'm going to be setting up a remote base on whatever island that second boss is at so that I can set a spawn point there. Like you can set up teleporters as well to jump between your different places.
Teleporters in the north?
Yep.
Okay.
Like gates, basically. I think they do call them teleporters, though. But yes, they are.
Is there some sort of in-world explanation for how you can teleport?
I mean, you are not in the normal world. You're at Valheim. You're in the magical place. You're trying to get to Valhalla. Like you have to beat the 5 bosses, I think, is so you can get to Valhalla. I think that's the history.
That's cool. Ooh, I like that concept.
Yeah. So,
and that's just more my like it's fantasy. Like I'm already like one step closer.
Yeah. But this game has sold. It came out on February 2nd, early access. It's already sold over 1 million copies.
Damn, that's really like I can't believe that. I imagine
$20
for less than that.
Oh yeah, it's $20. There's like I play. I'm just like I don't even know where the like train started for this. Like, I didn't hear about it until this week, and I saw a couple start popping up to like the top of Steam, being like, "What the hell's this?" And then seeing a couple friends play it and being like, ask them like, "What's going on?" They're like, "Oh, this just popped up. We just want to play it." And then I saw at least half my friends on Steam have bought this game.
Isn't that such an ingenious part of the social networking part of Steam, where it's like you see everyone playing that game, and you're like, well, at least have to look at it.
Yeah, and it's $20. It's super easy to just jump in. You're like, okay. Yeah. And it's not like seeing a person, like I see my friends on my friends list play games one-off all the time.
Right.
But it's fact when I'm coming back night after night and seeing them playing this game, I'm like, I should check this out. Yeah. Something is going on here that I may want to look at for my own entertainment, and then also just from a industry knowledge standpoint of like, what the fuck is this? Boasting over. Okay, as of today, Valheim, that is today, had 367,000 concurrent players on Steam.
Dang, that's pretty good.
That's insane. That was more than GTA 5, which
on one hand, like that's an old game, but on the other hand, that's just like such a fucking juggernaut that's really amazing.
Because it has, I mean, GTA Online has a lot of players. Like, I'm looking here, I'm like, okay, where are we at right now? Valheim, at this moment, right today, has 237,000 current players on Steam as we're talking. There's only 2 games with more players right now. CSGO and Dota 2.
I was going to say, it's got it, yeah. Those are the 2 that I would have picked. Wow, that's really cool.
It has over twice the number of players as Apex Legends right now.
Dang.
Through Steam.
Yeah, I guess I think about Apex Legends, like you're playing that in so many places that that doesn't tell you the whole story for Apex, but that's still fucking crazy.
For Steam, yeah, and this is insane for a super small team that made this thing. Yeah,
right.
Like, I still want to know where this came from.
Like you feel like it
like
came out of nowhere?
The virality of it? Like, did someone a big streamer pick it up and start streaming it? That usually can start getting somewhere, but like a game just randomly coming out on Steam doesn't usually get into the top 10.
Feels like, I mean, Coffee Stain has a lot of hit
stuff. Yes, they do. So. Yes, and this is published by Coffee Stain. So,
right.
Which, honestly, to say, like Coffee Stain has a specific type of game they publish too. Satisfactory and Deep Rock Galactic being their 2 bigger ones. But so it makes sense. You're like, oh, okay. And I guess they did Goat Simulator back in the day, but
but they dev that one, right? They didn't publish that one.
They dev that one themselves, and then they've done more of the publishing thing. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, because I haven't gone around. I haven't seen ads for Valheim anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard on podcasts, and that's about it.
Yeah, so like something must have triggered this to like hitting the zeitgeist, being shared and being talked about more. So I'm gonna probably research that because I always like to know kind of the history on games like this when they pop up like this. Was it from Twitch? Did someone start a big streamer just be like, oh, this looks cool and start streaming it and get that out and then I'll be honest, there are certain streamers, big ones, that if they start streaming a new game, a lot of other streamers will start streaming that game. And so you just get a lot of eyes on it very fast. And if your game holds up and actually performs well and looks fun, that will translate into a lot of sales. Honestly, like, I didn't work at System Era at the time, but that's what happened with Astroneer back in 2016. They can watch the no-clip doc on it. They went to sleep thinking like, oh, it'd be really cool if we sold like 40, 50,000 units over the first couple days, based on like our wish lists and stuff. And they woke up to 500,000 sales the next day because of a streamer picking it up and playing it.
I can't imagine like how amazing that must feel to wake up and just be like, I must be dreaming. What is happening right now?
And then being like, oh shit, our little game is huge. Oh shit, what do we do?
What a good problem to have. First world problem.
It is a first world. So I've mostly been playing Valheim. I played little bit more Path of Exile, but I did an achievement in Path of Exile that I had never done before, and it felt really. And then I was like, okay, I think I can stop now. Like, this league, I went farther than I'd ever gone. And maybe I can make that as a plan of each league when it comes out. Just do one more thing farther in progression that I've done before.
Right.
So that felt pretty good. But then Valheim happened, and then that's just what I've been spending my nights doing. Norse building and there's farming too. I should say that. Just
like actual planting, farming.
Yeah, like, carrots. I farmed carrots.
All right.
I did that yesterday. First time I made it to farming. Like, actually had all the materials and the stuff ready, and I could do my first crop of carrots. Because the progression in the game is all tied to food. Like, it doesn't kill you if you don't have food, but you always have a base of 25 hit points. And the only way to make that go higher is by eating food. And you can eat 3 different types of food at any one time, and each thing that you eat has an HP buff, a stamina buff, and a regen rate buff.
And is that just temporary though?
Yep, but usually lasts for like 5 to 15 minutes, depending on the quality of the food. Like, I've now, like, the carrot soup I can make from the carrots had like 10 minutes. It would last 10 minutes and was a pretty huge buff. So, like, the food system in the game, as you get better tiers of materials and things that you can make better food, higher quality food, so your stats are better, as opposed to not eating and dying.
Right.
So it just inverts that whole system, so it actually makes it feel better in some ways, of just being like, oh, I'm being rewarded for eating, not, oh god, I'm just not dying.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it sounds fun.
Yes.
More fun than the other one, you know?
Yeah, and then like there's a certain preparation to like, okay, I'm gonna go fight the boss now. So I've setting up my character right, getting the weapons that I want, my equipment right. Okay, and now I'm going to eat these 3 foods specifically to go fight this boss. And I have 10 minutes to go take down this boss. Which fight preparation is actually pretty fun. So it's a cool system. There's lots of just neat things in the game like that. So I've been having a good time. Probably once we're done here, I'll probably play some more, just building on my giant longhouse that I'm making. I like this game better than I liked Valhalla, so there you go.
Holy shit, yeah, okay.
I just do. I mean, they're both Norse, but I'm having more fun with this than I ever had in Valhalla.
That's awesome. Oh man, by the way, I know we texted a long time ago about my Valhalla sound issues.
Yeah.
Apparently, like at the system level, turn off the 3D audio because it didn't optimize 3D audio using the Tempest 3D. That's what was fucking it all up.
Oh, okay.
So if you weren't using those, no, because you had the same head. You didn't do any of that. You didn't undo any of that. Wait a second.
I just didn't notice anything.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Check in on spending. Not counting Nintendo games because those are for my daughter and me. I haven't bought anything in a month, which feels pretty good. But man, Yakuza Like a Dragon's on sale for $40. I feel like, oh boy, that's a good price.
It is a good price. I think you could probably it'll probably be cheaper eventually, and you should check because it's, I think, next month. I don't know when exactly. The PS5 version's coming out soon. Or are you talking for PC?
I'm looking at PC. Yeah.
PC. Yeah. I'd probably wait a little bit.
Yeah.
I bet it will drop. So it's 40 right now. I expect it will be
it's 40. Yeah.
30 on its next major sale.
Okay. Then I will just get bejeweled.
It will either be the same price as it is now, or it'll be 30.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to play it right now anyways.
Yeah.
I have other things to play and little time to do it. So
and
thank you for talking me out the ledge.
Steam, you're looking at Steam, I assume. And I bet Steam will have a sale in the spring. Probably April-ish, I would expect. Because they always tend to.
Yeah,
I mean, let's be honest. Like, oh yeah, it's the lunar.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's the Lunar New Year sale right now. I'm like, that's right.
That's right.
Just wait. Every few months, Steam has a sale. Enjoy. Like, this is not new and exciting news. Just watch.
I just haven't seen that specific game on sale. So
yeah, but if it's on sale now, it will be on sale. Like
right later this
they'll
year.
They'll pretty much always go on sale. Every time a sale happens now, it will probably go on sale. Because that's how this works.
Yep. You have talked me off the ledge. I just bought Bejeweled 3 instead.
Yeah, just enjoy some ridiculous Bejeweled.
Yeah. Let's see here. 93 bags. Awesome.
Yep.
Download in 3 seconds. Let's see here. Yep. Done.
You'll be back when games we cared about how big they were for downloading.
Yeah, exactly. Now it just doesn't really
whatever. 120 gigs, whatever. Enjoy.
Yep. It's not on the dial-up anymore.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that was a good podcast. Thanks for the insight on the patents. I know I say this every podcast.
There's not going to be a direct. Stop.
Next week is the 35th anniversary, like the date when Legend of Zelda first came out. I think it's in Japan.
Yeah, I think
surely there's something next week.
Surely, right? Right.
Eventually, it'll happen, and I'll say, "See,
yep. See, yeah."
Oh man! All right,
10% out of the time, I'm right 100% of the time.
Exactly, that's how it goes. Yeah, hit me up on Twitter for the hot stock tips.
There you go.
All right, folks. We will see you next week.
All right, talk to you later.